All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Devin Haney and Gary Antoine Russell. Gary Antoine Russell's team calls out Devin Haney to keep a promise and don't sound like they're playing about it. Let's talk about that in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to talk about two of the brightest up-and-coming American fighters, Devin the Dream Haney and Gary Antoine Russell. On my live stream this morning, Team Russell stopped by and was very adamant and said, tell Devin Haney to keep his word and come on up to 140 to fight me if he don't get that George Kambosos fight. But before I get into that subject matter, first, let me welcome you back to the channel and say thank you guys so much for your continued support for the channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and hit all notifications so that you can be notified of when we release our videos. And we do that pretty much every day, so thank you guys so much for your support. All right, got a whole lot of Devin Haney fans who watch the channel. And this conversation probably ain't going to sit well with them, but it is what it is. I was specifically asked by their team to say this, so I'm going to do a video about it and let it be known to whoever will listen to the video that Gary Antoine Russell intends to hold Devin Haney to a promise that was made, my understanding is, on a podcast called Barbershop Conversations, where Devin Haney's management said if they would not get George Kambosos, that they would fight, they would go up to 140 pounds and fight Gary Antoine Russell. So Gary Antoine Russell is adamant about holding Devin Haney to that and wants to get that fight. And let me tell you, first and foremost, I think it's funny because I don't want that to actually take place. I'm going to be just 100% straight with you. The best case scenario for me would be that Devin Haney gets that fight with George Kambosos. They say they're rumoring that it could be, well, this is Eddie Hearn, so I'll take whatever he says with a grain of salt. But looking at I believe maybe June 4th, it's either June or July 4th, in Australia for a fight with George Kambosos for the undisputed title at 135 pounds. That is the fight I think Devin Haney deserves. It is at a weight class that he's at, and I think it would be a terrific fight, and nobody could say anything about it if that guy took that fight, right? So first and foremost, I would like to see that happen, and or if he doesn't get it, personally, I would like to see Devin Haney either fight, if he can get the fight, get a Gervonta Davis fight, get a Ryan Garcia fight, because really at 135 pounds, it's a very deep division, but none of the top fighters are actually fighting each other, with the exception of Vasyl Lomachenko, who fought Teofimo Lopez. But apparently now Teofimo Lopez is no longer in that weight class. He's going to be at 140 pounds, and Vasyl Lomachenko may not be at 135 pounds for who knows how long, because he's in the Ukraine defending his country from the aggression or an invasion by their neighbor state, Russia, right? So don't know whether the only two fighters in 135 pounds that have actually fought each other are not going to be competing in that weight division for the foreseeable future. So pretty much everybody else, and that includes the other lightweights that are a little less known, but definitely very skilled, like Michelle Rivera and Frank Martin. I would like to see Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia or Kambosos fight any of those guys, so that we can start getting some matchups in 135 pounds where people can really start deserving to be called. All right, sorry about that. I had to answer the phone. My offspring was calling me. Sorry about that. But anyway, we back at it. So yeah, we have not seen any of those fights at 135 pounds. So I would hope that Devin Haney would take those. However, if Devin Haney said that, in my understanding, I've been told by several people that he said that was what was said on Barbershop Conversations channel. Gary Antoine Russell is holding it to him. If that's the case, man, you gotta keep your word, man. You gotta keep your word. If somebody calls you out and you're gonna fight in the 140-pound division, because that's what Devin. Now, I've definitely have heard Devin Haney say that, where if he didn't get the fight with George Kambosos, he would keep his belt in 135, but he would be taking other fights at 140 pounds. You know, if Gary Antoine Russell is that guy, man, I think that would be excellent. I would love to see that fight. I'm not sure, whether or not Gary Antoine Russell is able to go over the zone for the fight or what have you. Not sure anything about the logistics of making that fight. But if they made that fight, I would be super, super amped. And that would be one heck of an introduction to the 140-pound division for Devin Haney. However, I will say this. I don't see him doing that. It is not unusual for people to say things, and when, you get presented with the actual circumstance, that you may think a little bit better of that. Having watched Gary Antoine Russell fight Victor Postol, a Victor Postol who is by many people a very underrated fighter. Before the fight with Gary Antoine Russell and Victor Postol, I was telling people, I favor Gary Antoine Russell to win that fight, but man, I'm shocked. That is a big step up for a guy that doesn't have that many fights to be fighting Victor Postol, who gives a good fight to any and everybody he's ever been in the ring with. Nobody's ever blown out Victor Postol. However, Gary Antoine Russell wound up being able to get the stoppage against him and look good in the fight. Now, he had difficulties in the fight with the Victor Postol. Victor Postol is a 5'11", 6 foot tall, 140 pounder that really does stay behind a very responsible jab and a straight right hand, and is not somebody that is going to be overly aggressive, right? Who kind of teeters between defensive and offensive, right? Just somebody that's not an easy win, man, but he looked good. So for me, if I was matchmaking for Devin Haney, I would be like, look, man, you need to leave that guy alone, because that guy right there has all the ingredients necessary to beat Devin Haney. And that comes with size, speed. His confidence is sky high, having been able to beat guys like in the amateurs like Jaron Ennis, beating a Victor Postol, having all of his fights be by knockout. Also, he's a guy that he's a big puncher, and his team is going to be very, very well prepared. He's also a southpaw, right? So an aggressive southpaw that can take the lead, that can counterpunch. Man, I think that's a very, very tall order for Devin Haney. And I would say, man, that should not be your first go into 140 pounds. But hey, man, Gary Antoine Russell and his team ain't trying to hear it. They're saying, look, you said you take the fight. Take the fight. We ready for the fight. So we'll see what takes place. I would not bet my lunch on the fight taking place, even if Devin Haney went to 140 pounds. There are some guys out there in boxing, man, that people, because they're not big names, they're not necessarily going to get the shots that other people are going to get. And typically they're guys that fight something like Gary Antoine Russell. However, to Gary Antoine Russell's credit, he is now starting to get featured higher and higher in cards. He was a second fight on that Chris Colbert fight, but I wouldn't be surprised before too long if Showtime starts featuring him, in the main event at some of these fights. But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.